Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. As ever, I'm Ewan, and we've got a full house again. Harry down in London. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate.
Good. Greg, just back from a weekend away. Good weekend?
Very good, mate. Thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. And Liam, yourself?
I'm the boring bastard that's in Edinburgh.
Don't worry, I mean, I'm in Falkirk, mate,
right.
so...
Move on.
Right, it's been a good few days since Hibs last played. Cove at home in the Cup. It was 120 minutes of no very much. Obviously, the three of us were there. Harry, you were watching at home, unfortunately. Harry, we'll come to you first, get you out of the way then. What did you make of the game in general? Obviously, Muller and Henderson both made their debuts.
Muller looked really nice on the ball. He was the type of player that looked quite dynamic and trying to make things happen. He's obviously not a like for like with Martin Boyle. He doesn't seem to have like the blistering pace, but I think that he'll definitely score goals in the Scottish League. And I think that he seemed to be wanting to make things happen. Henderson, I actually thought, had a quietly good game. He didn't do anything shocking, but the ball he put in for Doidge for that header. Doidge needs to score that. That was an excellent cross in my opinion. I think the new boys had quite a good day at the office, to be fair.
Yeah, Greg, obviously there was a few disallowed goals and stuff like that in the game. Probably wrongly so, but it's not really an excuse to then not go and score another goal in the 90 minutes, is it?
No, there's no excuse for that. I thought we're pretty bad from start to finish, to be honest, and even extra time we weren't great. So, although Maloney has got is new to the job, he's trying to get his ideas in. I thought that performance on Thursday was miles off anything that should be acceptable at Hibs. So very well, you scored 2 disallowed goals or whatever, or 1 or whatever. I don't really care. The fact that you've gone 120 minutes with Cove Rangers and League One, regardless of how they're playing, isn't good enough.
Yeah. What did you make of the new players? Obviously, Harry touched on Henderson. I think Muller probably had more of an impact.
Muller was by far the best Hibs player on the pitch. I thought Henderson was good. Probably a wee bit unlucky to be taken off. That's maybe more just fitness, though. There was certainly other midfielders on that park that contributed a lot less than he did.
Yeah. Liam, first half especially, I think Henderson was, alongside Muller, probably the best player in the park. Just quickly, what did you make of the two of their performances? I think Muller definitely looked busy.
I wasn't impressed by Henderson at all, to be honest. It was he had a pretty small sample size in terms of his first game. I know he was trying to get on the ball and make things happen, but it didn't do anything that I really would give him any pat in the back for. He looked like a player who was really rusty. I think his last game was against Betis for Celtic. He's played very little football this season, so it's completely understandable. But there was nothing in his performance I could really pick out and say I was particularly impressed by. Maybe one touch that he brought down in the left wing, pretty early on the game. Muller, on the other hand, I thought looked really good. I just called him Muller the area, and I swore never to call him that. Chris Muller, as he will always be known in this podcast, we will not ever be calling him Muller.
I can't guarantee that.
No, I know it slips in. Some of his touches were brilliant, and like Harry says, not the kind of player who's maybe going to run in behind in the way that Boyle did. A very different option, but I think probably already looks like a more impactful option than some of the other wingers.
Yeah. Greg, Liam, I guess to both of you last week on the second episode of last week, we previewed the Cove game and we anticipated a lot of changes. We've seen a fair few changes. Just want to quickly touch on, I know you both wanted to see Dabrowski given a chance and he wasn't. Did it surprise you that he didn't get that start?
I don't know.
Surprised me.
What has Matt Macy got over Sean Maloney that he can't be dropped? I mean, he was dreadful. I thought there was one instance where the ball went back to him and the ball didn't even get off the ground. Very dangerous. The boy's hopeless and should not be at Hibs. I'm surprised that Dabrowski wasn't given the cup game. I thought that would have been a certainty. But yeah, who knows? We are a goalie and that's just a fact.
There's just nothing more to say. I'm just like, on top of what I said last week, if he's only going to have a chance in the cup, he shouldn't be here. He should go out and loan, or he should be released, let go to another club. There's no point in keeping a 22-year-old goalkeeper sitting on the bench for the entirety of the season, not giving him any opportunities, even when the first choice goalkeeper underperforms, as he has in my view this season. not seen Dabrowski's kicking to really give you any honest appraisal on it. It might be that, as someone said to Harry last week, Dabrowski's kicking's worse. It might be, but I guess that's the thing as fans, that we're not entitled to see, right? That's the goalkeeping coach and the first team coach's decision who plays.
Yeah.
But I'm just disappointed that someone who's apparently as good a shot stopper as he is hasn't had a sniff of an opportunity.
Yeah, Liam, just briefly, I'll probably just wrap up on the Cove game when we mentioned the goal, but do you think you've seen Melker Hallberg in a Hibs top for the last time at right centre-back?
Well, I think the writing was on the wall when he brought Jake Doyle-Hayes on and moved him into centre mid and put Josh Campbell out to right centre back instead of just doing the obvious and pushing Hallberg into that position where he should have been playing anyway. It's disappointing because he's, as we said last week, he's been used as a jack of all trades at Hibs. He's never really been played in his favourite position. He goes with my best wishes, because I don't think he's ever let anyone at the club down. He's always given his all. He looked like a fish out of water, to be honest, at right centre half. He looked very uncomfortable for quite large spells of the time he was there. So it's probably not a great surprise that he's been moved on, but I'm just a wee bit disappointed, because I think there's definitely a player there who, if we'd maybe invested in a bit more in terms of his actual position, might have got to flourish.
Yeah, Harry, just before we wrap up on the game, obviously Nisbet came off the bench and got the winner. What did you make of his performance against Cove in comparison to the performance against Celtic? There was obviously that chance in the 90 minutes where he dummied it, and then he had the same chance in extra time and like took it on himself to hit the shot. I know Sean Maloney referenced a spell, I think he lost the ball, then won it back, and it was appreciated by the fans. That's really what he's got to be doing, isn't it?
Well, being honest, Ewan, as you went through stage by stage of that question, every single talking point I was going to mention, so I've literally got nothing else.
It's been a while.
I think you hit it in the head. I think there was probably a lot of fans that felt he's got a lot of making up to do that he obviously hasn't done in the one game, just because of miss against Celtic, obviously, and he had a very bad performance. But yeah, no, to track him back, it was really refreshing to see something that he gets scrutinised for, I think, overly so. I don't think he's any worse for it than anybody else in the team, but he just seems to catch the flack for it. He's isolated up top, so if he tracks back, then who's going to be up top to replace him?
Did you think we looked better when he came on as opposed to Deutsch?
We were playing against Cove Rangers, and the thing is, throughout the 90 minutes, we created chances, we just didn't take them. This whole Hibs done nothing for 90 minutes. I know Doig's a left back, but he should have absolutely buried them. And then Deutsch scored 2 goals that were disallowed, and then he should have scored a header. Hibs, I think the main problem the other night was efficient finishing. On another night, we would have hit them for 4 or 5, but we just didn't finish our chances when they came. I don't think we looked any better or worse when Nisbet came on the pitch, but thankfully, I actually scored a goal.
Yeah, boys, anything to add, Liam, Greg, to the Cove game, or will we get talking about the Motherwell game?
No, let's just move on for that horror show. I think the best part of the night was just sitting in that having a laugh and not watching the football at all, because it was dreadful.
Shout out to anyone that was sitting around us, just in case.
There's definitely a couple of tweets about us.
I was going to say, there must have been if anyone heard Greg's running commentary of Jamie Murphy, all I can say is apologies. No, look, just
come on. Come on, that's harsh.
No, just
I was
worth mentioning
singing
as well.
songs of him at the end of the game.
It's a tricky away tie that we've got going to Arbroath. We should have enough to win it. It's a part-time team, but they are going well at the top of the championship. What do you make of the draw?
Yeah, look, who was that? Was that just an open question?
Just an open question, mate. Just on you go.
Okay, as host, I wouldn't just send open questions, but there we go.
I like to be more natural than structured, mate.
As much as Arbroath are going well, let's get it right. We are a big team playing a big city with a lot of money behind us. For me, it's not a mismatch in it. We should be going up there and winning that no baller. Certainly with the way that the squad that we've got, if we perform to our best, then we could take 3 or 4 of them. That's my opinion. I hope I'm correct, but I just think we've got more than enough for them, even on a bad day.
Yeah, Harry, you're going to be up for the cup game as long as it doesn't get shifted to dodgy kickoff times for telly. You looking forward to the away trip?
I went to Gayfield when we seen Doidge's worst ever penalty that I'll hold on to my grave. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. But yeah, no, I like Gayfield's really nice ground. I disagree with Greg. I think it's one of the more difficult draws that we could have had because even though they're lower division, Arbroath are very stuffy at home no matter who they play. It's a very difficult place to go because the weather can kind of mix and match and you don't really know what to expect and you can't really prepare for conditions like that. I think I don't even think it's a trap game. I just think it's genuinely not an easy game. I think we should go and win, and we're definitely favourites, but I don't think it's an easy game, and there's definitely easier draws.
Liam, you get to cast and vote then. Good draw or bad draw?
I'm just buzzing for the away day. I'm really, but I've never been to Arbroath. I've been to Arbroath. I've never been to Gayfield Park, so I'm buzzing for the away day. I've heard really good things, so I'm just really buzzing about the away day, to be honest. And if we get through the next round, that'd be good. Obviously, it's preferred, but right now the most exciting thing in my mind right now is sampling what Arbroath's got to offer.
In fact, is it? People are going on about running the pies, I think. Is it a steak and
black pudding or steak and haggis or something? I'm buzzing for that. Apparently the boozers are class as well. And hopefully it's a wee bit like everywhere around that area. Hopefully it's still kind of 1970s pricing as well, because I enjoy a cheap pint.
Well, hopefully we find out what the TV setup is in the next couple of days and we can start arranging our travel.
Can I just say, if anyone from the SFA is listening, Saturday 5:30 p.m, please. Thank you. Don't want to play on a fucking Thursday night.
Nah.
Again, shite. It's just where's the weekend? You play on a Thursday night. It's shite. Like just Saturday 5:30 p.m. Make it happen.
I don't know if is that a Premier Sports slot. I don't know if they always get to say. Aye, is it?
Yes.
So there's absolutely no chance of getting that then, is there?
And not on your fucking early 12 o'clock on a Sunday. Although I would take it, to be honest, right now, or Friday night.
Because we could just got the Saturday night and stay over there. See for me, it's probably there's a lot of buzz around Arbroath at the moment. Obviously with the way that they're playing, so why not just get it at 5:30 on a Saturday night against a top flight team? Obviously they're going well in the league, but that's just my opinion. But the SFA will shoehorn Celtic and Rangers into.
Yeah, look, Premier Sports are 100% taking the Celtic and Rangers games. That's happening. We all know that, which leaves, and I think the tie is pretty much the tie of the round. I think you're probably looking at Arbroath, Hibs and Aberdeen, Motherwell, or Motherwell, Aberdeen being, I know you've got a Hearts, Livy, I think, potentially, but they're games you see regularly, you know what I mean? So
we can see them every week.
Hammer floors. They come on to watch that.
Right,
gang
anyway,
gang.
Next time we're recording, hopefully we'll have a confirmation of that and we'll see how we're travelling up, and hopefully Harry is still available to go to the game. Right, Motherwell, Wednesday
Hopefully
night.
Not.
Motherwell, Wednesday
Harry,
night. We won at Motherwell back on the opening day of the season. Liam, 3-2 that day. It was quite a interesting game, going behind twice. What are you expecting on Wednesday night?
Well, I don't know that away game would be one of the highs of the season so far. First game of the season, I fairly enjoyed that. What do I expect? I expect Motherwell to be what they always are, hard-working, honest team. They've got a lot of runners in midfield, which could be quite difficult for us because we don't. They will try and play off second balls a lot of the time. Van Veen was a massive presence and threat in the game against earlier in the season. I think he's been up and down this season, but when he has been on it, he's been very, very good. So I think we'll have to have a wits about us defensively. I think Motherwell will be what it always is, and it'll be a tough examination, and we'll have to play really well to get 3 points.
Yeah, Greg, I know we spoke about it a lot, and I've said these words a lot, but it is a big game, and like if we win, we go above them into fourth place. Obviously, if we come out on the wrong end of the result, it's back to 5 points being the gap between us and fourth. Do you expect Hibs to go and win the game?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You do say that a lot.
Do you know what that is? Because every game's important, not just the big games. Every game, 3 points is necessary all the time.
Yeah, when Jack Russell's left you in the shit that you've been left in, every game's going to be a big game, innit? The only certainty about Hibs Motherwell is usually it's always both teams to score. There's usually a feast of goals. I don't see why we can't go there. I think Motherwell are very up and down, to be fair. They're inconsistent. I think at times they can be a gang. Kevin Van Veen's like either shit hot or shit. So I don't see why we can't go there and win. I think the team that we had at the start of the season isn't as good as the team we've got now. Motherwell have obviously lost Tony Watt. So I'm not worried about Wednesday. I think that Graham Alexander was given a lot of praise since it's been a year on, and I think since then they've not lost 2 games in quick succession. So I'm not concerned about them. They're up and down, so are we, but I think that we're probably a little bit more stable than they are.
Yeah.
And we've definitely got enough to go and beat them.
Yeah. Greg obviously mentions there's Tony Watts left Motherwell. Graham Alexander's come out and said they're not going to replace them. So their main threats on Wednesday night are probably going to be Van Veen, obviously, as both the boys have spoke about, and Jordan Roberts, I think, as well, the ex-Hearts player. That we should be capable of dealing with their threats and imposing ourselves on the game, you'd think.
Well, the first game we played at Motherwell, Tony Watt was anonymous when we played them at Fir Park. He obviously had a really good game at Easter Road. But it was all about set pieces. We were just absolute donkey whenever they put balls into the box. We just need to be careful and make sure that we deal with them when they come, because Motherwell, as well as they can play in the midfield at times, do tend to play for set pieces and try to get balls into the box, like the likes of Mugabe from centre back, and that Van Veen, as the boys have touched on, is just a big physical presence. It's difficult to deal with. It'll be interesting to see how we start at the back. I think that'll really dictate the game, because if we can deal with crosses, then I think we've not got a problem at all. But if we've got Hamlin and Porteous starting at centre back, then I think we'll lose the game.
Porteous is still suspended.
Well, there you go. Whenever those two play together at centre back, we tend to lose a lot of goals from crosses. So I think we should.
Paul McGinn back.
Yeah.
Jesus. Scrap what I just said. I'm still going to get beat.
Speaking of the defensive options, Liam, I don't think we've heard anything as to suggest why Rocky didn't play against Cove. Assuming he's fit, do you expect him to I was going to say keep his place, but retain his place in the league games?
Well, I don't think we'll see Milka Harbour get right centre back again. So I would imagine so. I think it's probably a straight shoot between him and McGinn, isn't it, for that right centre back spot? I would guess, given we've just signed Bashiri, that he's favoured in that position if he's fit to go. I think he'll play. I think Paul McGinn, unless there are injuries or suspensions, will find it quite difficult to get back into this Hibs team.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might well see a back three of Bashiri, Hanlon, and Lewis Stevenson or Josh Doig as a left centre back.
I was wondering, I was going to say maybe they might both play potentially, like McGinn on the right and Bashiri in the middle. Yeah.
Possibly.
Aye, for me, I think Hibs. Look, if we've got any ambition to finish in third this season, any hope of finishing third, we need to win on Wednesday night. Look, Hearts are playing Celtic at Tynecastle. Would hope that Celtic would go to Tynecastle and get the job done. I know they lost there on opening day of the season, but Liam, you've spoke about it all season. There's times to play the Old Firm, and that was a time to play Celtic. So I'd expect them to go to Tynecastle and win that game. So not only is it a chance to get into fourth, it's a chance to close a points gap going into the derby, and then hopefully coming out of the next sort of 3 games, it might be a hell of a lot closer to Hearts. So I think we've got to start well in terms of this little mini run. We've got a lot of games after this at home as well. So hopefully go into that on a good footing with 3 points at Motherwell. In terms of the sort of attacking third, Greg, Nisbet, Dodge, Muller, Henderson, Murphy, like Joe Newell, Jake Doyle-Hayes. What are you expecting us to look like in that sort of middle to front third?
We're forgetting the new signing as well.
Melkerson?
No.
Mitchell?
Dimitri Mitchell.
Was in our left wing back?
No, I spoke to a couple of Hearts fans today, and they said that he's much better further up the park.
Okay.
So I would hope that he would be further up the park. It's good because he plays on the left, and that's where Jim Murphy usually cuts inside from. So it'd be good to see him play out there.
Who are you expecting to line up on Wednesday?
Probably just the same. I think we'll probably see Joe Newell after his poor performance. I think we might see Jake Doyle-Hayes come back in for Henderson. I'm hoping that we see Nisbet for the start. Hopefully he can get back amongst the goals. He's probably the only goal scorer we've got now. And Muller, fucking, there you go, Liam. Muller, not Chris Muller, or Ferris Bueller, but Chris Muller. I hope we see him, because I thought although it's against Cove, I thought he was very good.
Yep.
Very positive on the ball. on Thursday. So I'd also like to see Melkerson play. I don't know if he's had his work permit yet.
There was definitely
whatever.
chat that it was getting fast tracked, wasn't it? There's also
Yeah.
been chat today that he's been stretchered off in a behind closed door friendly against Raith Rovers. So who fucking knows? Harry, I guess the one thing that fans have sort of said all season, probably prior to Maloney coming in as well, is we're much better when Nisbet and Doidge play together. Is that something you could even foresee happening? I mean, Maloney seems quite, I don't know what the word is, stuck to this sort of front three that probably doesn't allow you to accommodate for both of them in the same 11.
No, I think we've tried. I think last season a few times we've seen Nisbet out on the left wing with the capabilities of cutting inside, and I just don't think he looked comfortable there at all. It might have been pre-season. I think he's just a striker, and I think Doidge is a striker. I don't think Maloney's going to play two up top, so I doubt that we see them both together at any point, to be honest. I actually thought Doidge was all right. Obviously, with a more competent linesman, he's got at least one goal the other night, but he was against Cove Rangers. I don't think he's going to feature much under Maloney, if at all. I just don't think Maloney's a fan of Doidge.
Nah, I would agree with that. So let's talk midfield and that sort of left side. Liam, is there any chance of Dimitri Mitchell, as Greg mentioned, coming straight in, or do you think Josh Doyle's got to, or is Mitchell, like Greg suggests, going to be further up the park?
I suspect he probably doesn't come straight back in. I also don't know if, given he's a left footer, if that means he's a left footer that's going to play on the right, or if he's a left footer that's going to play on the left. There's a lot still to be uncovered here. I suspect if he's playing in the final third, he'll probably be more likely to play on the right. Given our horniness for inverted wingers, or attempted inverted wingers. I think calling Jamie Murphy an inverted winger is a bit too kind, too modern for Jamie Murphy. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought he'll come back in. I would imagine Wheeler will play. I'd imagine Nisbet will play. The other position's probably up for grabs, to be honest. Maybe see Henderson again.
Yep.
Maybe see Murphy. I don't know.
Who did have it? Campbell and Newell against Cove Rangers, wasn't it? So for me, I think Jake Doyle-Hayes has to play over Josh Campbell if we're going as a two. Look, I think we've spoke well of Josh Campbell at various points this season. I think in the last two games after the break, and probably even in the games leading up to it, we've started to see his limitations. I don't think he was good at all against Cove, and I think that, you're playing a League One. I think if he's a young player wanting to make his name in the team, I think he has to be a standout in that game, and he really wasn't for me. So I think I would probably be looking at bringing Campbell out, potentially probably just going Newell and Jake Doyle-Hayes in the middle of the park.
I don't think that's right. I think that Campbell was awful, but I think Newell needs to run out of the team. I think he was suspended before the break, and we looked a lot better with him out of the team. Until he fixes that, I don't think he deserves to play. Like, he's consistently been poor all season. He's had about 3 good games, and it's no longer good enough and no longer acceptable. Joe Newell shouldn't be starting for Hibs on the basis that he's been terrible for months. As soon as he starts picking up his performance, he's clearly good enough to be at Hibs, but at the moment he's not.
It's a difficult one for Campbell as well, because he was kind of flavour of the month for a very short period of time. And McGuinness is obviously coming back to fitness. He's been back training for about a week now.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it becomes very hard for Josh Campbell to get minutes when you add McGuinness, Henderson into the conversation. Jake Doyle-Hayes is fit, Newell's fit. I don't know. I would suspect Alex Goggins goes out, but he's not really competing for a first team place. So Campbell's going to find it very difficult to get minutes in the team. And it's only just really in the last few weeks he signed a new 4-year contract. So, I suspect a huge part of the reason that Josh Campbell signed a new 4-year contract was because he was a relatively cheap option. I don't think he'll be on big wages at Hibs at all. He's there as cover. He's there and he can play a number of different positions. But for me, he's really, really way down the pecking order in terms of players that can play that position because of some of the limitations you've talked about. Good runner, but yeah, I'm not sure if on the ball he's got quite the right sort of level of quality to be playing kind of lesser teams in this league.
Yeah, look, there is a week left in the transfer market, so we'll come on to talk about transfers as a whole just in a bit. But is that centre midfield, Greg, we've spoke about a lot. Like, I know I've said I'd played Doyle-Hayes and Newell, but are we convinced they can play together? We're not sure. Do we think Josh Campbell's the answer in there? We're not sure. Personally, I don't see you and Henderson being able to play in a 2 in the middle of centre midfield. I do think his position's further forward. It's a tricky one to get the right balance in there, especially if Maloney is going to sort of stick with this 3-4-3 in it.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to your questions are, can they two play together? The answer is no. Is Josh Campbell good enough? The answer is also no. So we need to bring players in. And if he's deemed Hallberg surplus to requirements, then, well, surely Campbell can go as well then, because Josh Campbell's not better than Melker Hallberg anyway. So we need to bring bodies in. We need to find the right balance, but they pair aren't the right balance. I think Jake Doyle-Hayes is a good player. I think Joe Newell play limits that. I think Joe Newell is always so keen to go back the way. I feel like Jake Doyle-Hayes is possibly a bit more forward thinking, but at the same time, the two of them can be negative. At the same time, we've seen it last week against Celtic. The pair of them were awful. They just want to go back all the time. So, yeah, we need to find the right balance, but I don't think the right balance is there at the club at the moment. I don't think we've got two players that can play in midfield that would complement each other the way that we're looking for.
Yeah, obviously I've mentioned there about Ewan Henderson. Do you all have that similar opinion that you don't think he can play in the 2, or would any of you expect him to line up in the 2?
I don't think he's a central midfielder, to be honest. I think he's probably more of a wide player or more advanced attacking midfielder. We're looking for two players that can play together in the midfield, and that's not him.
Yeah. Harry, Liam, Ewan Henderson
until he's played there. I think that the review from Ross County fans was when he was there a while ago, that's not his best position, but things change, players mature, positions change, players develop. I wouldn't write him off playing in a 2 without having seen him play there. I don't think it's fair to do that, but Maloney will have a position in mind that he wants to use him. He's a player that he's obviously, it's his signing, so he's signed him with a position in mind. He fits into the 3-4-3 somewhere. For me, based on the limited time he had on the pitch against Cove, I think if he's going to play off the left, I think that he was a bit uninspiring for me. But I'll hold judgment until I see more of him in that role.
Yep. Right, Harry, I can't imagine there's much more you want to add on Ewan Henderson.
He's frozen.
Oh, there you go.
The
froze our silence. No, look, let's get a score prediction wrapped up for this Motherwell game. Harry, you set us on our way. Hibs away to Motherwell. Who's scoring? Who's not scoring?
3-2. We're going to concede 2 goals for corners, and we're all going to have a meltdown. But Muller's going to get a hat trick, and we're all going to be happy.
What about yourself, Liam?
1-0 Hibs. 1-0 Hibs. A very workmanlike performance and another goal for Kevin Nisbet.
Greg?
2-1 Hibs. Muller and Nisbet, and Hibs will concede from a cross. Even Peterhouse on that.
I'll go 3-1, and I'm hoping it's a similarly commanding performance that we put on the show at Dundee United on Boxing Day, because it wasn't that long ago, and the nucleus of that team's still there, and if we can go and play that way, then we'll win the game. Goal scorers for me, Muller to grab his first goal, Nisbet will get a goal, and someone will score from a corner. Don't know who it'll be. Whoever's playing at centre half, I'll say Rocky if he's playing.
So, do you mean someone at centre half that can attack the ball?
Aye. Right. Transfers. Last week, it was all but confirmed on Thursday night before the game, after the game. Friday morning, Martin Boyle's left Hibs. Look, we're a little bit late to the party to talk about this, but Harry, what's your initial and what was your first reactions to Boyle moving on?
As I said, if the money was right, then obviously, and he wanted to move, I don't think we had any right to keep him. Martin Boyle is, as far as I'm concerned, a club legend. I've just got to be devastated he's left. The impact he had in it, I think it's fair to say, the semi-finals, one of the best Hibs games we've all been to. It's definitely in my top 3. I thought it was magic, and part of that magic was Martin Boyle doing Martin Boyle things. So he goes with my best wishes. I think he's a top man, and I hope he thrives over in Saudi Arabia, which is not a comment I thought I'd ever make about Martin Boyle.
Harry, we obviously put a tweet out asking our listeners and followers and stuff to give us their favourite Martin Boyle moment. So was that 3-0 game your favourite Boyle moment, or?
I'll just plug the story because I love telling it. I was at the pub once. I was at Slug and Lettuce on what do you call it?
First issue, referring to Slug and Lettuce as a pub.
What do you call it?
Definitely a pub like.
It's a bar, like.
All right, bar, pub, schmub, cub. I know. So I was there. My mate was like, "Oh, by the way, Martin Boyle and John McGinnis at the bar." I was like, "No, they're not." So then I went through and I was like, "They're at the bar." So I just started chatting to them, and Martin Boyle literally put his arm around me and just started chatting. What you got? Me, him, and John McGinn done a shot together, chinked to Fuck the Hearts, done a shot, and then he put me in a headlock and gave me a noogie. And honestly, like anybody watching would have thought that me and Martin Boyle have been mates for about 10 years. Like he's just nicest footballer I've ever met in my life.
Liam,
One of my pet hates is when supporters go and pester players.
When were we speaking about this? Were we speaking about this in work?
We were speaking about it the other week, yeah. I think it was last week in work we were speaking about it and how unfair it is and how you need to just leave people alone.
Fuck's sake, Harry, you pesty bastard. Well, Greg, you came in there.
Harry is a pest.
What was your first reaction and emotions to Martin Boyle moving on, and again, favourite Martin Boyle moment?
You can't really have any hard feelings against him. You know, I've seen one tweet in particular where they said that Martin Boyle doesn't care about the club. I think that's miles off it. I think you can see from his reaction that he does care. The interview,
tear in your eye in the interview.
I don't cry, man. That's pathetic. But no, look, I think it was probably highly emotional purely because we've seen Martin Boyle like come from nothing to be the main man in the team. We've seen him grow as a player. He's been through a lot of Hibs, and then he's left. So for me, he's gone full circle with Hibs. You know, he's developed so much under Hibs, and we got a good fee for him. All you can really say is that he goes with our best wishes. Great bit of business for the club getting the first refusal on him. So when he
what do you make of that?
6 months' time, then we'll get him back. Look, to be honest, I'm all for it. It gives Martin Boyle a bit of security as well if he maybe doesn't enjoy it as much. He knows he can come back to an environment where he thrives and he really, really settled. So, look, the first refusal clause for me is a great bit of business, but first and foremost, good luck to the boy because he really does deserve this.
What's your favourite moment for Martin Boyle? In a Hibs shirt or out with a Hibs shirt?
Definitely a semi-final. To be fair, there's literally no other. You know, let's be honest, he scored a hat-trick against Rangers when we were absolutely shit. So yeah, that's it. And you know, me and Harry shared a good cuddle that day.
Is that up there with Ivan Sproul's hat-trick at Arbroath?
Yeah,
has to be
100%.
If not,
the only difference is that
listening in space about 10 minutes.
We had Ivan on the pod, and I think he was kind of struggling at Hibs at that point. And then he kind of shot on the scene with that, whereas Boyle's done it in a semi-final where we know how much of a threat he is, but Hibs weren't playing well at that point.
Yeah, potentially less surprising almost, but...
Yeah, you can possibly draw comparisons, but, you know, Martin Boyle's done it in a semi-final. It's a massive stage, so...
Yeah.
What
about yourself, Liam?
Favourite moment? Probably the volley against Livy, just to say something different. Because of how sweet he caught it. There's been a couple of like farewell videos doing the rounds, and that's one of those goals that I think we'll always kind of remember, not necessarily because of the player, but because of the strike. Like you don't really see very many better strikes than at this level. Sure. It was subtle from a player that I said was not the most natural striker of a ball I've seen. It's some strike. I stand by that comment. But no, he leaves everyone's best wishes. I think it's a good move financially for him. I'm not sure. Just being honest, I'm not sure it's a great move in terms of career and standard of football, but financially it sets him up for life. And footballers at this level don't earn a fortune, so it's the right thing to do by him and his family. And I just wish him every success. Hopefully he goes to World Cup with Australia next December and absolutely smashes it. That would be absolutely class to watch on telly. To be honest, watch one of our own kind of do his thing, and then maybe after that World Cup he'll fancy coming home. Who knows? I don't see that being a long-term move. But shout out to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang as well, who's also looks like he's moving to Saudi Arabia. So
was he?
He'll be the second best forward in that league.
Aye, well, yeah, really can only echo what everyone else has said. I think the move makes sense for everyone involved. Liam, you spoke about Martin Boyle's age. If Hibs were ever going to cash in, now was probably the time. And that fee is the right thing. Harry spoke about a tax for if he was to stay at a club that could damage Hibs in terms of league. He's not done that either. And I think the leaving interview gave you a real good insight into what he's had to think about as well as a sort of person and what the club meant to him. So that was nice. Favourite moment for me, I'm going to go for the double at Tiny, just because, again, like what Liam said, something different. Looks the semi-final at Hampden just last month, 2 months ago, was unbelievable. But I felt like we hadn't won at Tynecastle for a long time. I know we actually had, and because we had just won there under Heckingbottom the year before or whenever it was. But nah, I don't to go and score a double again. Daryl Horgan had just done it before him and all, but these things generally don't come round all that often. So that was rather enjoyable. Christmas period. It was a good time to be a Hibs fan. Right, Martin Boyle has moved on. We touched on it earlier. Looks like Melker Hallberg is leaving the club. I think he'd done an interview in the press. I think it was Swedish press. He all but said he's been told he's not in the plans, so he's going to look to move on. So outside that, there's not been a whole lot of chat about players moving on for a couple of weeks. I think Scott Allen was rumoured at the start of the window. Alex Gogic was rumoured at the start of the window, but everything seems to have went quiet. Harry, who, if any, do you expect any other players other than Hallberg to move on within the next week?
Even if I expect Hallberg to move on, we'd expected what do you call it? We've expected about 5 players to move on that just have the window. So players just they're not good enough for Hibs, and nobody else thinks they're good enough either. So they'll just kind of stay with us and rot until contracts on it.
Is that your full point?
So.
Liam, what about yourself, mate?
Aye, there's a fair list there. We spoke about that list at length, but I think anyone really from Scott Murphy, Wright, could probably make a case for Dan McGregor, Sean Mackey, Melker Hallberg, Scott Allen, Alex Gogic. All 8 of those guys could go, and I don't think they'd necessarily be hugely weakened by it. I've always been a bit of a champion of a couple of names on that list, but probably recognise that they're not really going to be used. Therefore, there's not a huge amount of point in keeping them. But there has to be a buyer out there. Like, if there's no buyer,
sure,
and there's no one willing to take on the player's contract, then that Hibs are kind of in a bit of a difficult place. There was rumoured to be interested in Gogic, but I think that was Morecambe, wasn't it? And
it was, and then that journalist Alan Nixon, he tweeted saying Morecambe had missed out because he was going abroad, and then nothing since.
No, I think the difficulty with Murphy and Allen, just to call it what it is, I think they're probably if not the 2 best played players, 2 of the best paid players at Hibs, and I think those contracts are bad contracts and people won't take them on. I feel like I might be repeating a point I made last week.
Yeah, look, Greg, we've probably spoke about outgoings. We know where you're at with them. In terms of incomings, what would you like to see in the next week, if anything?
Incomings, goalie, 2 centre halves, at least 1 centre mid and a striker, please.
So you want us to bring in 10 players this window?
Yeah.
And also, what do you think is realistic? We've all if we look at who we have signed and what we've got on the books right now in terms of centre half, we've got Darren McGregor, Paul McGinn, Paul Hanlon. Liam, we have mentioned Mitchell, but would you like to talk about him when we come back to the point?
What are you talking about?
Grant was always my favourite. Grant, I always felt like if it really came down to it, I reckon Grant would have Steve Mitchell in a fight. I would put my money on it. Even though Ross Kemp does run away at the first sign of trouble on any television show he's on, I reckon he'd have Steve. Sorry.
Perfect. So in answer to your question, what do I think is realistic? No more signings.
Okay. Harry, what about yourself, mate?
I don't know. I still think we need another centre back. I think a left-footed centre back could do us a charm.
The only thing realistic, I meant that this is just what Hibs do.
Well, the only reason I'm thinking we might not
No,
sign
just
another
stop
centre
signing
back
players.
is obviously we have got Harry Clark there now. I know he's injured just now, but he's still. But and the chat was that Bashiri would be played as a left centre back. I thought when he signed, I thought
didn't say
that
I
was.
wanted left-sided. I said I wanted a left-footed centre back, and that's what I want, and I'm sticking by that. So did I put words in my mouth? Let's just not be doing that again.
I would agree with John Lennon and say that we do need a left-footed centre half because the one we've got at the moment isn't up to it. But there we go. I feel like I say it every week, and you know, if you're bored listening to me, good. Because I'm going to continue saying it until we get one in.
Liam, centre back, centre mid. What would
Centre mid?
Perfect.
Centre mid.
No,
We don't have the right balance. We don't have the right balance in the centre midfield. So a centre mid, please. And doesn't matter how many times we keep trying things. I think it's I think we've struggled with that. In fairness, as much as we've been struggling with centre backs over the last 18 months, I kept on saying we've brought players in to try and find that balance. Maybe we'll get it when McGuinness comes back.
Yeah.
But can I say with any certainty if McGuinness plays on like whatever game that he's going to stay fit to now and then the season, history tells me that he probably won't. Therefore, I think I do think we need another centre midfielder, especially if we're going to let some go.
Yeah, I think it's realistic to expect another midfielder. I think it's an area that we are light in, especially if Hallberg and anyone else went out, and it would be number one on my shopping list. Aye, that's the transfers wrapped up. We've spoke about the Hibs game. We've spoke about the Hibs game at Motherwell. We spoke about the Cove game. Liam, guess who?
I feel like
is Phil Mitchell in Guess Who this week?
No, nor is Dimitri Mitchell, Hibs' new signing.
We spoke about him, by the way, just to get.
I feel like Dimitri Mitchell has just been glossed over. We've signed this guy on an undisclosed fee for Blackpool, and I feel like we've glossed over it. But
talk to us. I mean, Greg's told us that he's probably not going to play at wing back. He's probably better in the final third. You even suggested a play on right mid. Like, what do we want to say? He used to be a harsh cunt, and the video was funny. Anything else
he's
to add?
all right now.
Aye, anything else to add?
Nah, I just quite like the. We'll move on. He did win. He did win Reserve Player of the Year at Man United, which might suggest that he's got something about it, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we'll move on. Guess who? And it's not Dimitri Mitchell is not one of the answers on Guess Who this week. No, it's back, and I'm back doing Guess Who after Greg's successful slot of doing it last week, which I won. Just in case anyone was keeping score. But no, we've got 5 Hibs players. I'm going to give each of these guys an opportunity to guess which Hibs player it is. And I'll just start revealing clues one after that. You get 5 points for getting one right. So
we've got a theme this week.
There is no theme. There are these just the theme is they played for Hibs. So the theme is this guy started his youth career at Heart of Midlothian.
Okay.
He then moved on to Dunfermline, where he made 5 appearances. He was born in Edinburgh on the 31st of July, 1986. 4th clue. After leaving Hibernian, he had a spell at Rochester Rhinos, where he made 1 appearance.
Oh, I fucking know who this is, but
5th and final clue. He is now a referee.
Sean Murdoch.
Correct. Well done. Sean Murdoch, former Hibernian goalkeeper. That's stunned the audience in the silence.
Hey! Big name.
I don't think folk were a massive fan of Sean Murdoch in his time at Hibs, which he did make a grand total of 2 appearances. He was basically a backup goalie, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came in for Ben Williams for a couple of games, and I want to say he had one really alright game and one absolute stinker. Yep.
Yeah, one of them was away to St Johnstone. To be fair, he had Daniel Boateng in front of him, so I'm not going to judge him on that.
I wasn't going to use the clue of when he proposed to his girlfriend in Times Square.
In Times Square, aye. I did. He needs to grow up as well.
Right.
Not wrong with a kiss and a cuddle and a wee happy meal and cramming there.
This is the Down the Slope podcast. This is not the podcast of romantic gestures. This is a podcast of toxic masculinity and doing things properly.
Not crying, not proposing.
Stop. Come on.
Moving on to the second player. Started my career at Fulham. I played for England at under 16, under 17 and under 20 level. Hibs are not the only Scottish Premiership club I've played for. I also played for Ross County and Dundee.
I know it. Liam
I
Fontaine.
joined Hibs. Correct, Liam Fontaine. The Fontaine of knowledge, no else. Ewan Wilson streaks into a 10 the lead. That was a good guess. The last couple of clues were going to be I joined Hibs after a spell at Yeovil Town on loan. And then I was going to say it was part of the 2016 Cup winning side, which of course it was. Okay. Player number 3. I hail from France. Now is it down for you?
Fuck's sake.
I made one appearance for Hibernian during the 2000 to 2001 season.
Oh, I think my
Sorry,
leg's gonna
Harry.
get snapped
I
here.
know you didn't like things that are too early on history highlighter. There you go.
Like the way I just did again though.
My one appearance came under Alex McLeish in a 2-0 win against Motherwell in September 2000.
Greg, I think the floor's yours here. Like,
I have a hyphen in my surname.
Michael Anton Courier.
Get him out, Sharon. Even this has got me. Right, carry on.
I signed for Hibs after being a youth player at Nantes and claimed that the presence of Frank Sauzet was a major factor in my decision to sign for the club.
how many clues we got left?
That's it.
Oh fuck.
So definitely wasn't the Anton Courier.
Right, I'm gonna say something like this could be a dreadful shit. Freddie Arpignon or something?
Well, so it's got a hyphen in his name, mate.
Right, oh fuck.
Arpignon.
Fuck.
Get him out. Okay.
The answer.
It's probably one of these that I will honestly boot myself when I hear it, but I honestly don't know it, Liam, so just crack on, mate.
It's Hakim Sar Temsuri.
Hi. Let's go.
Yeah. Cult hero Hakim Sar Temsuri. Okay. That's great name. Okay. First clue. I was a Celtic player during my youth career. I represented Scotland at under 16, under 17 and under 19 level. I left Hibs to join Dundee United when I made 16 appearances and scored 3 goals.
Sam Stanton.
Nope.
Oh.
Wait, who did he make the 16 appearances for? Sorry, Hibs.
Dundee United. I scored 14 and 52 for Hibs between 2015 and 2017.
James Keaton's in it.
Correct, James Keaton's. Well played, well played.
Shot the gun too early.
But final clue was going to be I was part of the 2016 Cup winning team, but I did not start the game with James Keaton's. Well done to those of you who guessed that right.
Were any of you guys in that category that thought he'd scored the winner initially?
But when he bailed the complete other way, no.
Because it was just
I
absolutely.
actually thought it was.
Scored.
I thought it was Gunnarsson that scored it, to be fair.
Oh, really?
What a guy. He's a hero. Like, I love that.
His fucking celebration as well when it went in was just like, yes, and just sauntered over, like, just so chill.
Okay. Next one. This is a real fan favourite. This one. Okay. I signed a 3.5-year contract for Hibs on the 24th of January 2016. I was an unused sub during the 2016 League Cup final against Ross County. I joined Hibs from IFK Mariehamn in my
Also
homeland.
Viternen.
I was about to say Burton.
Correct. Otso Virtanen. That
Like,
guy who made a Hibs appearance on the basis of a lost contact lens.
Aye. And then he fucking chucked it in against Bromby again. Mind the first game of the following season. Wow.
It was literally the first minute too. Great start.
That's what
That
put
was
us
a
out.
game that. Well, it wasn't that.
Well,
It was the
I know,
fact
'cause
that John McGinn missed a penalty.
yeah, but would have went through on away goals, or if the linesman had no fucks that way. Did Cummins no score about 5 minutes later? He was fucking miles onside.
Yeah, and then Neil Lennon.
It was
gave the
Lennon's first game,
linesman
wasn't it?
Neil Lennon gave the linesman the throat slitting sign. So what a boy!
Well, that was a sign of Higgs to come with Lennon. First game and he got a 3-game ban. Like first fucking game in the dugout. Like fucking ridiculous. Is that it?
That's us.
Oh,
It's fine. So you win. You win.
I'll take that.
Disappointed nobody got Hakeem Sartem Suri, but there you go. You live and learn.
Would you have
that was maybe
backed
like a 5 on the difficulty scale. I think I was 5 out of 5 on difficulty scale. He was proper.
Would you have backed yourself to get that? Like, did you think of him or did you stumble across
I thought of him because he's one of those obscure names that comes up. You know when like he's just having a laugh and you talk with guys like like I don't know if you remember like Fabrice Henry and Errol Jean and Peter Guge and like it's just one of those names that comes up when you're having a laugh about Hibs players in the past. Jaco Viss is one that obviously comes up as well. But Sartem Suri, I think that was the age where I used to buy a programme and he was always on the bench every single week, but he never ever came off the bench. And during that time, there was guys like Scott Bannerman and Emilio Batiglieri, guys that were on the bench every single week but never ever played. Because you used to have to fill your bench with under 21s or under 23 players.
Yeah.
So these guys would be on the bench but they'd never ever play. And you know that intrigue of being a child and I wonder what he's like at football. I wonder if he's any good. He's just there to make up the numbers.
Just
everyone a bit
confirm the
younger
rules,
than
Liam.
Josh Campbell.
Chris, that's the rules, Liam. Harry is allowed to participate, isn't he?
Well, on that note,
everyone. No, thanks for listening. We'll be back on Thursday night, hopefully recording on the back of a Hibs win at Motherwell, previewing a home game against Livingston. Will we be doing Livingston and the Derby on Thursday? Maybe, probably. Aye.
Why not,
Aye. Right, we'll be back on Thursday. Cheers.
Bye.